to ManageEngine CloudDNS. CloudDNS is a hosted DNS management solution, and now we'll be giving you a small tour of the product. CloudDNS is a user-friendly SaaS-based DNS management software through which you can set up your own customized domain space by adding, editing, deleting, and applying different configurations for various DNS records. This is especially useful for businesses that own mission-critical websites or web services but do not want to manage their own DNS servers and infrastructure. As a managed DNS solution, CloudDNS offers global authoritative DNS name servers that enable domain owners to store their domain's DNS records and use them as target name servers for controlling their domain's name resolutions over the internet. By hosting your DNS records on multiple servers, CloudDNS ensures higher availability and reliability for your domain. If one server fails, others can take over. CloudDNS has a vast network of globally distributed servers at multiple global vantage points, which can help reduce latency by responding to DNS queries from the nearest server location to the user. CloudDNS is also extensible through APIs and withstands cyber threats, all while saving your time and money. Today we'll explore how CloudDNS can transform your DNS management with its robust features and intuitive interface. The first glimpse of the product we get to see is the dashboard. Let's start at the CloudDNS dashboard. The CloudDNS dashboard serves as an effective visualization tool that presents the most important DNS analytics data. To access the dashboard, select the dashboard menu from the main menu bar along the left window pane to view the DNS analytical statistics and DNS traffic chart. The dashboard automatically refreshes every minute and shows you the following dashboard items that gives an overview of your domains managed by CloudDNS. So first up, we have the recently updated domains. This tabulates the domains that were recently updated by the members of your organization along with the captured date and time of modification. And then we have the total queries of the last hour. This metric highlights the count of total number of queries handled by the DNS infrastructure in the last hour to give a sharp quantitative assessment of the last hour query load. And then we have the last hour queries graph. This metric visualizes the query load handled the previous hour with a time series plot illustrating the amount of query load handled at successive intervals of time. So placing the mouse on a particular dot gives you the query volume at a particular point of time in the last hour. So the last 24 hours queries, this metric is visually presented in a bar chart. The hourly query load across a time span of 24 hours between the current time and the 24 hours before the current time is presented here. Each column in the chart represents an hour in the last 24-hour span. You can easily grasp the information by hovering on a particular column, as this gives you the query load for a specific hour. And then at the last, we have country-specific query counts. This is presented in a world map panel at the extreme bottom of the dashboard. So here you'll be able to accurately visualize the geographical origin and the total number of query requests from a country with red overlaid circles on each country. The total queries and the country is shown in the popover when you hover over a circle. So that's about the dashboard, which serves you essential hot updates about the domains you manage with CloudDNS. Now let's move on to the second most critical menu in the CloudDNS UI, which is the domains menu. Clicking on this menu, you'll get access to the domains page. So it is in the domains page that you'll be creating new domains and adding new records and configuring new settings for your domains. So in order to create a new domain, just click on the add domain button in the top right corner. So name your domain and choose the type of domain you'd like to create. So there are three types of domains available under CloudDNS. The first one being primary GeoDNS. With this type of domain, CloudDNS enables you to configure advanced features like GeoDNS, DNSSEC configuring monitors along with failover mapping. And with primary AXFR domain type, this helps you configure zone files of a domain to become the master files, master zones for the secondary zones during AXFR zone transfers. However, these primary zones cannot be configured with advanced configurations like GeoDNS failover and monitoring health checks. And the third type of domain we'll be focusing on would be secondary domains. So the secondary domain type makes the zone files configured under this type to specify the primary server details and frequently polls primary servers hosted on other DNS provider with AXFR queries to fetch updates. The updates, if detected, are replicated in a read-only format in the secondary zone files by means of AXFR protocol. As the secondary zone files are in read-only format, CloudDNS cannot have any control over them. Once you're done choosing the suitable domain type for your domain, key in the relevant domain email, time to live, refresh, retry, expiry, and minimum values for the new domain. The standard time attributes of the domain can also be predefined in SOA templates, and all you need is enable the template to make all the records you create bear the predefined values set in the template. So we'll be dealing with the SOA templates later in the upcoming segment in this demo. So we'll focus on the other options here. By enabling this targeting option, you upgrade your domain to become a global traffic directed domain or a GTD domain. With a GTD domain, you can enable this domain to be served when your requester is requesting from a source IP. It sees whether there is a resource closest to their location and serves the response from that particular resource. So that's what a GTD domain does. And you can enable you can enable vanity name servers. Vanity name servers enable organizations to rebrand CloudDNS's public name servers by branding them to a domain of their choice, masking CloudDNS as the original host or DNS provider. So vanity name servers are configured in CloudDNS by creating a vanity name server template. This is once you enable vanity name server, you'll have to choose the required vanity name server template subsequently. So we'll see the configurations related to it in the upcoming segments of the demo. And you have the zone groups. So what are all the zones? Zone group is a quick curated list constituting a unique collection of multiple zones. Assigning your zone to assigning this domain that you're creating to a particular zone group will simplify zone management when you're making zone transfers. At last, we have the contact groups. Contact groups constitute group of specific users under your organization who receive notifications related to addition, deletion, changes, and monitoring of records available for a domain. While creating a domain, you can associate with the relevant contact group to be notified of alerts or incidences concerning that domain. Once you've entered all the essential details for the domain, when you click Save to finalize the configurations, your domain will be successfully created. So once a domain is successfully created, just go to the domains page and then navigate to the domain name of your choice, click on it, and then you will be viewing a page where you can see all the domain records for that domain. And just navigate to the system NS record type, just click on it and you'll see the system name servers at the bottom of the page. So copy the list of name servers provided by CloudDNS for your domain and add them into your domain registrar settings. It is crucial that you update your domain registrar with the CloudDNS name servers for your domain correctly, otherwise DNS resolution may fail. Now let's see how you can create and manage DNS records for a particular domain. Click through a domain name of your interest, and then when you get into a domain, you can access its DNS records. So navigate to the DNS record of your choice. We have a multiple set of DNS records supported by CloudDNS. So you can navigate to the record section of your choice and click on the add icon over in the right end. You can just click on it to create a new record. So now we are targeting an A record. So we'll be creating a new A record here. So while creating a new A record, enter a relevant name for the DNS record. The time to live attribute comes pre-filled if you've enabled an SOA template beforehand, or else you can modify the value as per your requirements. The time to live value specifies the total number of seconds the local resolver ought to cache the response for a record before requesting a new one. The max host attribute enables you to specify the maximum number of active hosts to which the DNS traffic for the particular domain can be directed to. The default value is 1. So if you specify a value 2, out of the hosts that you configure here, 2 of these hosts will be actively involved, simultaneously working to give the response, to serve the responses for the requests coming for this particular zone. The filter attribute defines the scope of your domain. Filters are the rules that you can apply to the records to direct the traffic based on the location, ASN number of the network, subnet, IP protocol, or IP address of the end users. Only one filter can be associated with a single DNS record. First, a record must be created with the filter world default before applying any other filter. So next comes the record modes. While specifically creating A, quad A name, C name, or alias type of records for a domain, it's mandatory to specify a mode for the record. This mode indicates the type of load balancing strategy applicable for the record. The record mode is set as either standard, failover, or round robin. So CloudDNS enables you to specify the type of record mode. The first one, the standard mode, specifies no special configurations and simply serves the IPs or hosts configured for a record. For the record mode standard, all you have to do is just add the IPs. So when you get into the add IP section, all you need is to add the IPs of the hosts that are going to be served as responses for this particular zone. So the next option we'll be focusing on would be round robin mode. The round robin mode distributes the incoming traffic across a group of designated hosts on a rotational basis so that every server in the group gets a chance to serve your traffic. You can also assign weights for each server. The weight value indicates the priority of a host in comparison to other hosts within the target server group. In case identical values are assigned to multiple hosts in the target server group, the incoming request is processed in a round robin fashion. The weighted round robin mode integrated with health monitoring checks eliminates any trace of instability or downtime. For the record mode round robin, when you add new IP, the add IP window requests not only the IP address of the host but also the associated weight for that host. Assign an appropriate weight value between 0 to 255 to designate a priority value among the host servers group that you create. So that's how the round robin record mode functions. The next record mode we'll be focusing on will be the failover record mode. This option is available only for A, quad A, C name, or A name records. This mode guarantees strong record redundancy to improve availability and resilience. Choosing this mode will need the addition of extra IPs or host names for failover configuration. To specify the priority levels among different hosts, CloudDNS offers two options for specifying priority levels among the hosts. So they are the weight-based failover record mode and priority-based failover record mode. For the weight-based failover option, this option allows you to route traffic to multiple hosts under a single domain in various proportions based on the weights assigned to each host. So when you click on add IP, so it will request you to enter the IP address of the host along with the particular weight and you will have to specify whether it's going to be an active host or a backup host. If it is an active host, it should be assigned an appropriate weight value, and for the number of active hosts that you're entering in the IP section, its weight will be compared to the other active hosts and a proportion of based on the CloudDNS will serve the query based on the host's weight as a proportion of the total weight of all active hosts in the group. With this approach, you can seamlessly scale up or down and balance the distribution of traffic among the group of active hosts for this failover configuration. So the weight values should range between 1 and 255, and this determines the amount of traffic routed to each resource, with higher weights indicating higher priority. So you can also assign a monitor to keep monitoring if the active hosts are all actively functioning, and the monitor will keep monitoring them, and if not, if any of the active resource fails, the backup resource will come to the fore and actively serve requests to the queries. And in the similar vein, let's see the priority based failover option. So here, when you add an IP, it will request for an IP along with the priority value, and you'll have to specify if the resource is an active resource, and you have to assign a monitor for it. So there is no backup resource assigned in this configuration. The priority based failover option lets you assign priority levels to each of your hosts configured under the record. These priority levels are positive integers between 1 and 255, with the highest number indicating the highest priority. No two hosts can share the same priority level. If the active host with the highest priority experiences an outage and becomes unavailable, the host with the next highest priority level will seamlessly take over and serve the queries for the domain. To ensure only healthy endpoints are associated, it is mandatory to specify a suitable monitor along with these configurations. Click Save. So the last option we'll be focusing here would be the closest option. So this is the option that enables you to upgrade your zone to a global traffic directed domain. So ManageEngine CloudDNS maintains an IP database identifying the location of the requester or the end user at the continent, country, and state or province levels to connect end users to the closest resource by means of global traffic directed domains, or GTD, which rapidly delivers the domain end demand from the closest resource to establish best performance. This can be activated by enabling the closest option here. To enable GTD for the chosen DNS record, drag the closest toggle to green. This directs the source IP, that is the IP of the end user requesting the particular zone, to the resource closest to the source IP's location. So once you're done with the record modes and the closest option, just click on save and the particular record will be created. So you can see the particular record is created under the domain brighton.com. So you can add your records one by one or bulk import them using the import button over here. Using this import button, you can import your zone files as JSON or as bind. So if you click on this import as JSON, you can copy your JSON file over here and import all the zones in one take, and you can import them all together, or you can import them as bind. So this, while importing as bind, if you want to replace the existing records, you can just click on this checkbox and click on import. And if you want to export these particular zone files, you can just click on the export button, and if you click on the relevant option as JSON or as bind, the download starts and you can click click on the downloaded file and you can copy paste in your other DNS provider. So as you can see, it will be downloaded as a text file, and you can just click on the particular text file to view the configurations, and then you can copy and paste it in your DNS providers panel. So that's how you can easily add and update DNS records. So if you want to delete DNS records in bulk, you can just select those records and click on the delete multiple icon over here. Or if you want to delete individual DNS records, just click on the delete icon at the extreme right end. If you want to edit a particular DNS record, just click on the edit button and you'll be able to edit the configurations for a particular DNS record. And that's how you can easily manage DNS records using CloudDNS. So let's see how to enable DNSSEC for zones hosted on ManageEngine CloudDNS. CloudDNS lets you enable DNSSEC for your primary GeoDNS type of zones in CloudDNS instantly with just a single click. All you got to do is just get into a primary GeoDNS domain by clicking on its domain name, and this will take you inside this particular domain name, and here you can click on the DNSSEC button at the top right corner. Here you can observe that the lock is unlocked over here, which indicates that the DNSSEC is not enabled for this particular domain name. Just click on it and this will take you to the DNSSEC page. Here click on the sign button and click yes, and within a few seconds you can see that the domain is signed. So the CloudDNS portal deploys DNSSEC online signing to sign the DNS responses of a particular zone. So on clicking the sign button, the domain of your choice will be signed successfully, and a DNS key record, a DS record, and key signing keys and zone signing keys will be automatically generated. You should copy these details into your clipboard, as you will be needing these details to update your registrar. In case you need to cancel these DNSSEC configurations, just click on this unsigned button with the lock that is in the unlocked mode. So this will nullify all the DNSSEC configurations. Once DNSSEC online signing is enabled on a domain, the appropriate information is given to your registrar. The DNSSEC supporting resolvers will begin to validate DNS responses returned by the CloudDNS nameservers. The domain is successfully signed. You can see that the lock is fully locked in the DNSSEC button, and when you go into the domains page, so we'll be revisiting the domains page, and you'll see the domain is listed with a green shield besides it. This indicates successfully signing the particular domain with DNSSEC configurations. And that's about the DNSSEC configurations in CloudDNS. Now let's see the zone versioning in ManageEngine CloudDNS. With both primary GeoDNS and primary AXFR type of domains in CloudDNS, CloudDNS enables you to store around 10 previous versions of your mission critical zone files. You can roll back to your previous configurations anytime by selecting and restoring the previous versions of your choice. Each time you make a change in your zone file, whether small change or a big change, ManageEngine CloudDNS counts it as a version of your zone. To view the previous versions, get inside a domain by clicking through the domain name, and when you're inside a domain name, just click on the previous versions link in the top right corner. So clicking on this link, you can view the list of past configurations of the domain along with the timestamp and revealing the date and time that they were last updated. These versions can be easily restored by clicking on the restore button in the bottom right corner. On clicking restore, the particular zone gets updated with the previous version of zone configuration successfully. So all the current configurations of the zone files will be replaced with the previous version that you've chosen over here. So the third menu we'll be visiting is the monitors menu. Monitors in CloudDNS are tools that continually track the health, performance, and availability of your DNS infrastructure. They are essential in ensuring your domain resolution is functioning correctly and efficiently, minimizing downtime and improving the user experience. Monitors alert you to issues before they impact your end users, allowing for proactive management and swift resolution of potential problems. So CloudDNS enables you to implement monitors over multiple protocols across various vantage points around the globe where CloudDNS has established its presence. So if you want to add a new monitor, just click on the add monitor button and select the type of monitor you want. So if you're creating a TCP monitor, just click on TCP menu. So this will open the create TCP monitor page. On this page, just name the monitor and enter the IP address of the host you want to monitor. These hosts are the ones that are served as responses for DNS queries to your query requests. Specifying this tells the monitor where to direct its TCP checks. And then for the port, specify the network port number that the monitor will use to establish a TCP connection with the host. Common port numbers are 80 for HTTP and 443 for HTTPS. And enable the prefer IPv6 option to tell the monitor to use an IPv6 address for the host if available. If disabled, it will use IPv4 by default. And for the location, you can select and specify the geographical location from which the monitoring checks will be performed. This can be important for analyzing how your DNS performs across the world. And select a check interval that determines how frequently the monitor will perform checks on the host. A shorter interval means more frequent checks, which could provide quicker notification of issues but may use more resources. And for the vendor, by default, you can only choose Zoho DNS. And if you want to create a web monitor, the fields are quite similar for the TCP monitor. The only one that will be you'll be adding would be the FQDN or the fully qualified domain name. So when you're monitoring using the web monitors, you'll have to specify the fully qualified domain name of the server you intend to monitor, which typically includes the host name and the domain name. And you can also specify a specific path on the server you want to monitor. For example, if you want to check a specific page or a resource on your website, enter the path of the resource. So this way the monitor can check the responses of that particular resource. And you can also specify a search string so that the monitor will look for that particular string in the response body to confirm the service is responding correctly. This is often used to ensure that a web page is not just up but also displaying the expected content. And you can specify the HTTP status code that you can expect a healthy response from the targeted host to return. So 200 OK is the standard response for a successful HTTP request. You can also select any one of the options over here. And you can specify a user agent. If you want to simulate requests from a specific browser or device, you can enter the user agent string here. This will make the server think the request is coming from the browser or device specified in the user agent string. So for the location, you can specify the geographical location from which the monitoring checks will be performed. And you can specify the check intervals as mentioned before, and then you can specify the default vendor, Zoho DNS, and save the configurations. And then you'll create the web monitor you want. The ping monitor is also similar to that of the TCP monitor. So similar fields. And last, we have the DNS monitor. So here, especially you'll be entering the name server details, which is the name server name, and what kind of a lookup you would prefer. Whether you would prefer lookup for an A record or a quad A record or an alias record or CNAME record, you can just specify it over here and specify other essential details and save the configurations. So once the monitors are configured, you can filter easily and manage a selection of monitors simultaneously by applying collective actions over it. So you can select multiple monitors and you can click on the actions drop down to activate them or suspend them or delete them. So you can execute these actions individually for each monitor. Once your monitors are up, and you can also select them specifically and click on the respective icons here. You can edit and monitor, suspend a monitor, or delete a monitor. Or if you want to visually analyze the real-time statistics of a particular monitor, you can just click on the graph icon here. On the graph available near a particular monitor, you will be able to see the monitor stats. You will see whether if the monitor is up or if it's down, and you can see and correctly recognize the issues with the particular monitor. You can see the latest poll reports, last hour average response time for each and every server configured under the monitor, and then you can view the stats and you can keep monitoring the resources. So monitors can only be applied to the hosts under A, query records, and alias and CNAME records. So it is these 4 records that you can configure a monitor to. And that's about the monitors. Once your monitors are up and running, you can go into the alerts menu. This will bring you to the alerts page. The alerts page lists the crucial alerts notified by each monitor configured for specific domain under your organization. It captures the location of occurrence, status of the resource, and the reason of occurrence along with the timestamp for a particular incident in the DNS infrastructure. The alerts page enables you to filter the alerts by a specific monitor, status of the monitor, and by the location of the monitor across a custom defined time frame. With this page, you can easily detect patterns and alerts that arise out of record failures, record changes, unhealthy resources, and connection failures, and various other causes. Moving on, we get to see the audit menu. The audit page can be accessed by selecting the audit menu from the left menu bar. The audit page helps you continuously evaluate the overall security posture of your domains using security audit logs to track who, what, and when, or to DNS management and record updates. You can also filter the logs by filtering the specific activities carried out by a specific user or a specific activity carried out around a specific time frame. So now if we select create operations done around this particular time frame, you can see who has done what on what particular domains around what time and everything. So regularly reviewing your DNS infrastructure security logs helps you ensure that the access control mechanisms are performing adequately, determine whether employees are sticking to your security practices, and catch new potential security weaknesses using these audit logs. So now we've come to the 6th menu over here. This is the filters menu. Filters in CloudDNS are essential tools for optimizing and securing network traffic, ensuring users get the best possible experience, and providing businesses with the ability to enforce their operational policies effectively. By utilizing geo filters, ASN filters, and IP filters, network administrators can fine-tune their DNS responses to serve their specific needs and objectives. Filters are a critical component in managing the flow of DNS traffic, allowing administrators to route users to different servers or resources, enforce security policies, and improve network performance. CloudDNS offers 3 types of filters to provide granular control over DNS traffic. So these are the geo filters, ASN filters, and IP filters. To enable them, just navigate to the appropriate filter or the filter you want and click on the add filter button. So now we'll select the geo filters tab and click on the add filter button. So this brings us to create geo filter page. Here you can create the geo filter group you want. So geo filters enable DNS responses to be tailored based on the geographical location of the user making the request. This is particularly useful for delivering localized content, managing geo restrictions, or balancing traffic across multiple data centers. By implementing geo filters, businesses can ensure that the users are directed to the servers closest to them, thereby reducing latency and potentially improving load times. So let's see how you can configure geo filters. Under the geo filters tab, click on the add filter button and this will display the create geo filter page. On this page, enter a name to identify the filter group. So in CloudDNS, all the filters are grouped collectively, both all the geo, ASN and IP filters are clubbed together, and you'll have to choose one of these filters by identifying its name. So make sure you name your filter with a unique name, specifying it's a geo filter and the countries it constitutes. So you'll have to give it a suitable name. On the left side of the page, you will see the list of continents. If you click on this option, you'll get to see the list of continents. You can expand each continent and select the countries, particular countries under a particular continent. Suppose if you want to just select African countries over here, you can just click on the continent Africa and select the required countries. If you want all the countries in African continent, you can just keep them all selected over here and click on save. So here in the right side, you'll see the selected location section. You'll see the locations you have chosen, and thereby you can confirm it. So this serves as a review panel where you can confirm the locations that will be affected when the geo filter is associated with a zone. So you can save the configurations and the particular filter will be created. And for the ASN filter, ASN filters are used to direct or block DNS traffic based on the autonomous system number or ASN number, which is a unique identifier for each network on the internet. So to configure an ASN filter, you'll have to navigate to the ASN filter tab and click on add filter. This will open up the create ASN filter page. So here enter the group name. Make sure it is a unique name for easy identification, and then enter the ASN number of each network you intend to target one by one and click add button for each entry, and you can save the configurations. And this is how ASN filters are created. So next, this brings us to the next type of filters, IP filters. So you'll name the group and you choose the you'll select the type of the IPs associated with this filter, whether it's IPv4 or IPv6, and then you'll specify the list of IPs. So add an IP one by one, add your IPs one by one and click on add button and save the configurations. You can later edit or delete these configurations for these type of filters as and when required, just by getting into the filters menu, choosing the type of the filter and click on edit or delete button on the extreme right end of the filter name. And then the crucial part here is associating the filters you create with the appropriate domain name. So for this, we'll get into the domains menu again and choose a domain name. So when you click on this domain name, you'll get to access its DNS records or the zones configured under this particular domain name. So we'll choose a particular A record and open it in edit mode. You will get to see the filter option here. So filters is available as a field over here. Now you can select the filter you just created using the filters menu. So it will be displayed in the list over here. So all the geo filters, all the ASN filters and IP filters, all these three filters will be clubbed together, and hence we insist you to name your filter with a unique and identifiable name. So here the world default is a default option here. So what do you mean by world default is the first zone you create under a domain name will always be associated with the world default filter. This is a default option. Whenever you create a new zone, it will make sure the world default is selected by default. And the world default is a universal filter that serves all the queries irrespective of their location of origin. For the subsequent zones you add for a domain name, you can customize the filter settings by associating the appropriate filter group. So if you're creating a.brighton.com for the first time, you must make sure that the world default filter is enabled. So for the queries, irrespective of their location, this response will be served. And if you choose the African filter that we intended to create, if you select that, this response will be served for the requests that are coming only from Africa. So for all the visitors worldwide, if they try to access this particular zone, a.brighton.com, they'll not get a response. So for that, make sure that you create world default filter for a zone, and then create the filter groups and associate with the same zone name and create subsequent zones with the appropriate filter groups. And this is how you create filters in CloudDNS. So once your filter is up, you can view them in the filter under the filters menu. So you'll get to see all the geo filters, ASN filters, and IP filters under the respective tabs. You can see the domains they are associated with by just clicking on this green icon. So you can see the associated domains. You can just click on the edit button to edit them or delete them if required. Next up, we have the users menu. ManageEngine CloudDNS provides two roles to users who are invited via email. They are the admins and the operators. The admins have complete administrative privileges and can add new users to the CloudDNS organization. The operators, on the other hand, are given access to a specifically curated list of select domains or zones by the administrators who add them. The users page is accessed by selecting the users menu from the left menu bar. The page displays with two tabs, user management and user audit. The user management tab lists all the active users with their respective roles under your organization. It is in this tab the admins will be able to add, delete, or edit the user privileges for the organization. In addition, CloudDNS provides the ability for administrators to enable or disable TOTP based login feature for individual users. This can be done by selecting the blue edit button at the extreme right end of each user. So just click on it and you'll get to see the edit user page. Here you can enable or disable TOTP authentication or change the role of a particular user, and you can save the configurations. So disabling TOTP authentication for a user grants them the privilege to bypass the TOTP login prompt during subsequent access to CloudDNS if they've already logged into their Zoho account. For users accessing CloudDNS for the first time, TOTP authentication is mandatory and must be completed as part of the login process. And we move on to the user audit tab. The user audit tab helps you monitor your users' login activities by capturing the username, date, and timestamp of the latest login activities. And that's it about the users menu. CloudDNS enables you to group specific users under your organization to create special contact groups. While creating a domain, you can associate the relevant contact group to be notified of alerts or incidences concerning that domain or associated monitor. To create a contact group, select the contact menu from the left menu bar. In the contact page under the contact groups tab, CloudDNS displays the list of contact groups created under the organization. Click on the add group button to create a new contact group. Just name the group and enter the group email address or enter the user's email address one by one, and click add after each entry and save the configurations. Once a contact group is created, the most important part is associating the contact groups with the domain. To associate a contact group to a domain, select the domains menu and click on the edit domain icon of your choice, and by selecting the domain of your choice, and here is where you associate the contact group with the respective domain. So you will see the associated domains for each contact group over here, and here you can just view the associated domains. You can see the list of emails associated with this contact group, but you cannot edit the domains associated with this contact group. To actually edit the domains associated with the contact group, you'll have to go to the domain and open it in edit mode, and here is where you'll be able to change the contact group or dissociate a contact group from a domain and save the configurations. So that's about the contact groups in CloudDNS. And then there is the analytics menu. Selecting this takes you to the analytics page. The analytics page is where you learn about the performance of your zones. The main page on clicking the analytics menu presents only high-level DNS surveillance data concerning all the zones configured under your organization across a specific time frame. First, select the time window through which you'd like to study the DNS traffic. By default, the DNS traffic data that is presented on the main analytics page includes the DNS traffic captured between the current time and the 24 hours before the current time. You can choose your own custom range or redefine the ranges of time according to your requirements. For the selected time frame, at the top section of the analytics page, two key metrics of strategic importance are highlighted. They are queries per second and total queries. These two metrics are calculated by taking all the zones configured under an organization. You can also visualize the hourly readings of the total queries handled by your domains hosted in CloudDNS infrastructure for the period between the current time and 24 hours before the current time in the form of bar graphs or line graphs. At the bottom section of the main analytics page, for each domain name, the platform captures and tabulates the total number of queries handled by that domain along with the maximum, minimum and mean query load handled by each domain around the chosen time window. Deeper focus on a specific domain, click on a domain name. This enables you to view segmented analytics across a chosen time slice in the form of query counts for each record type and query counts for each response type delivered for that domain, and country specific query counts for multiple zones configured under that particular domain name. Also, you can dive deeper into each response code and query type. This yields specific stats concerning the performance of a specific subdomain under a domain with general key metrics. So this is the analytics page for a specific domain. Let's explore each section over here. The first section gives you an overview of the general KPIs. The second section gives you the query volume for different types of DNS records, and a separate donut plot provides a visual breakdown illustrating the distribution of query volume for each query type or record type. On choosing a specific record type, say A records, a new page appears and displays the general overview for the A records under the domain name and lists the number of queries resolved by direct IP addresses mapped under the authoritative A records configured for each specific subdomain. The same type of analytics is displayed when selecting a response code or error type, which shows the performance of a specific domain name based on the responses delivered. By selecting a specific error type, say no error, a new page appears displaying the number of query requests to the subdomains configured under a particular domain name that were resolved successfully without any failures. Additionally, you can dive deeper into each subdomain. This provides detailed statistics concerning the performance of a subdomain under a domain name with specific emphasis on the record type or the response code, along with an overview of the general KPIs. So if you scroll down further, for each segment under analysis, be it the domain analytics page or the specific record type page or the error response page, CloudDNS presents a world map panel that displays the country-wise query counts at the bottom to help you accurately visualize the geographical origin and total number of query requests from a country with red overlaid circles on each country. The total number of queries and the country are shown in the popover when you hover over a circle. You can also find a list and a donut plot that presents a visual breakdown of where the queries come from in specific to the segment under analysis. You can find this world map panel under each domain analytics page, record type page and the response type page. So clicking on a specific country will give you a new page that displays the general overview for that country, for the requests that come from that country and the subdomains that were requested from that country. And you can see how the query is distributed over specific regions within the targeted country. You can see the region name and the total queries coming from that region. So this is how the analytics page help you gain real-time visibility into DNS traffic spread and marketing-friendly data. So we'll see the other party zone migrations. So CloudDNS serves as a powerful tool for organizations managing multiple domains across various hosted DNS providers. By centralizing DNS management, CloudDNS becomes the single point of management for all your zones, helping your organization to reduce operational complexities, minimize the risk of configuration errors, and enhance overall efficiency. CloudDNS allows you to create new domains and manage zones hosted on different third-party DNS service providers directly from its user interface. So we'll just select the provider as Cloudflare and type the name of the domain name to be migrated and enter the registered email with Cloudflare and copy and paste the auth code generated with your Cloudflare account and click on migrate. In just a few steps, with these details, you can easily migrate a selected domain name into CloudDNS. Google Cloud DNS, just copy the JSON key you get from the Google Cloud DNS account and then specify the zone name as defined in Google Cloud DNS, and for the DNS zone name field, specify the fully qualified domain name of your domain managed in Google Cloud DNS and paste the JSON key credentials and click migrate. For the AWS Route 53, when chosen as the provider, make sure to enter the zone ID you've retrieved from your AWS account and paste it over here. And for the access key pair that you've generated in AWS Route 53 IAM dashboard, which is the access key and the secret access key, make sure you enter the secret access key in the access key field of Cloud DNS and enter the access key value you retrieved from AWS Route 53 IAM dashboard into the key ID field and click migrate. So with just these details, you can migrate all your AWS Route 53 domains into Cloud DNS. Microsoft Azure as your provider, select Microsoft Azure as your provider and specify the domain name that you'd like to migrate from Microsoft Azure and enter the resource group name in lowercase and enter all the required credentials like subscription ID, tenant ID, client ID and client secret that you've retrieved from your Microsoft Azure account and click migrate. This is how you can easily migrate Azure account domains into Cloud DNS. You can easily manage them now within Cloud DNS user interface. Now let's focus on some of the supplementary configurations for the zones. Let's start at the SOA templates. So every time a domain is created in Cloud DNS, the zone for the domain and the zone itself is populated with the values according to the SOA template or state of authority template. The SOA template contains important predefined administrative information about a zone and zone transfers. On predefining the attributes of your zone files by creating SOA templates, all you have to do is enable or disable the template according to your requirements. So you can access the SOA templates under the SOA templates tab under the zone submenu available in the config menu. So you can click on the add template button in the top right corner. The create domain template form appears. The contents of the domain template is just the same as all your DNS zones and domains and is used to simplify the domain setup process. The SOA template comprises of 5 mandatory time attributes with each attribute defined in seconds. They are time to live. This attribute specifies the total number of seconds the local resolver ought to cache the response for a record before requesting a new one. The refresh attribute defines the number of seconds after which the secondary servers ought to query the primary server for an SOA record. The serial number in the SOA record helps the secondary servers to detect zone changes. The retrieve attribute defines the number of seconds after which the secondary servers ought to retry requesting for the serial number from the primary server. If the primary server does not respond, the retry value must be less than the refresh value. The expiry attribute defines the number of seconds after which the secondary servers ought to stop sending responses to requests for a particular zone if the primary zone hosting the zone does not respond. Expire attribute should bear a value bigger than the sum of refresh and retry. The minimum attribute defines the number of seconds a remote caching DNS server should cache negative responses for a zone. CloudDNS enables you to customize these 5 time attributes depending on the size and the stability of the domains you host in CloudDNS infrastructure. Once you click Save, an SOA template will be created. Now all you got to do is enable the template by enabling this enable toggle. So CloudDNS allows you to enable just one template at a time. You can create as many templates as you want, but at a time you'll be able to enable just one template, and this template applies for all the domains and all the zones created under a domain. So this will make all the records in the zones you create under your organization bear the same time to live, refresh, retry, expiry and minimum time values, saving you lots of time keying in these details for every record or every domain you create. When you attempt to create a new domain in the domains menu, so we'll create a domain name. So when you attempt to create a new domain or a DNS record, these attributes come pre-filled to expedite the creation of new zones or domains as shown here. So that's about the SOA records. SOA template. Now let's see how to configure vanity name servers in ManageEngine CloudDNS for your domains. So vanity name servers enable organizations to rebrand CloudDNS's public name servers by branding them to a domain of their choice, masking CloudDNS as the original host or DNS provider. Vanity name servers are configured in CloudDNS by creating a vanity name server configuration followed by associating the newly created configuration to the personalized domain name of your choice. So vanity name server configuration constitutes a group of vanity name servers bearing personalized host names. To configure a vanity name server configuration, select the config menu and here select the zones option here. So once you're into the zones page, navigate to the vanity name servers tab. Here click on add vanity button. This will take you to the create vanity name servers page. Enter an identifiable name for the vanity name server configuration. Make sure the name you choose is alphanumeric, as CloudDNS only accepts alphanumeric vanity name server names. Select the type of vanity name server you'd like to configure based on the specific geographical location of CloudDNS's public name servers. If you select all regions, if you'd like to configure vanity host names for name servers located across the globe, select all regions. Select specific regions and select a specific region subsequently. If you'd like to configure vanity host names for name servers only from specific region, and you make sure you select the specific region in the subsequent regions field. So only one all region vanity name server type and 2 specific region vanity name server type can be added. Enter each personalized hostname for your vanity name servers in the text box adjacent to name server hostname label and click add after each entry. So, and then save the configurations. You'll get to see something like this. So we'll open a vanity name server configuration in edit mode. So you'll be entering the details like this. So you'll be entering all the host names one by one and click add after each entry. A maximum of 4 host names are only allowed for a vanity name server configuration. Once you've created a vanity name server configuration, CloudDNS allocates a set of IP addresses for the vanity name server hosts. So if you see it right now, if you get into the vanity name server configuration and just get into this vanity name server configuration, you'll see a set of IP addresses allocated for the vanity name server hosts. All you need to do is associate your personalized domain with the vanity name server configurations you've created here and make the domains point to the vanity name servers instead of the CloudDNS public name servers. So let's see how you can associate a domain with vanity name servers. Open a domain in edit mode. So let's open a particular domain in edit mode. So we'll choose brighton.com. We'll open it in edit mode. And here in the vanity field, we'll select S as the value for the vanity field and select vanity name servers. And for the vanity name servers field, let's select the appropriate vanity name server configuration and save the configurations. So once you save the configurations, you'll be able to see the system NS records for this particular domain that the vanity name server configurations are applied here. So the domain is pointing to the personalized host names under the associated vanity name server configurations. For each of the specific hosts under the vanity name server configuration, to pick up a specific IP address, you need to create a specific A or quad A records under that particular domain. Retrieve the IPv4 and IPv6 addresses allocated by CloudDNS for the newly created vanity name server. Now create A and quad A records for the chosen domain and add the IP addresses as hosts. So that's about vanity name servers in Cloud. So the final supplementary zone configuration we're going to explore is zone groups. What is a zone group? A zone group is a quick curated list of a unique collection of multiple zones that simplifies zone management in CloudDNS. So to create a zone group, just click on the Add Group button in the top right corner, name your group and select the specific zones from the list of zones available in the zones field. You can also use the select all option to select all the zones from the list and click on the save button. So once a zone group is created, you can associate this zone group to a particular operator profile. So where are these zone groups useful? So when you create a user with an operator profile, since the operators in an organization are given only restricted access privileges, when you add a new operator, you will have to, so we have an operator over here. So we'll edit the operator's details. So CloudDNS here will prompt you to enter the zone group. So this operator is restricted to a certain zones in your CloudDNS infrastructure. So we'll have to select the specific zone group to enable him or her to access these specific zones in the infrastructure. So instead of painstakingly choosing one zone per click from the drop-down list adjacent to the zones field, you can just choose the relevant zone group and this will help you choose a multiple zones at a large scale with just a single click. Now let's see how to set up zone transfers in ManageEngine CloudDNS. So you can configure ManageEngine CloudDNS as a primary DNS provider or a secondary DNS provider. If your organization works with multiple DNS providers, you can deploy CloudDNS as the primary provider in parallel with other third-party primary or secondary DNS providers. Under this configuration, CloudDNS supports only authoritative AXFR zone transfers, which transfers the whole zone file from the CloudDNS servers to the secondary servers. In this setup, when transferring zone data from CloudDNS, the AXFR protocol does not transfer CloudDNS's advanced configurations like geofilters, monitoring setup, and specialized failover configurations. Only the zone files that are RFC 1035 compliant are updated in the secondary servers. So create or select the primary zone from the domains page that you prefer to set up as the master zone for your secondary servers. So out of the three types of domains, primary GeoDNS, primary AXFR and secondary domains, Zone transfers can be enabled only for primary AXFR type of domains. So you can create or select the primary AXFR domain of your choice that you prefer to set up as the master zone for your secondary servers. So let's select a primary AXFR zone here by clicking on its name. So when you're inside the primary AXFR zone of your choice, click on the zone transfer button in the top right corner of the page to enable outgoing transfers from that particular zone. So let's click on it. The zone transfer page displays requesting you to add the secondary servers hosting the secondary zones to which the current zone acts as the primary zone. So let's click on this button. This will display the Add Secondary Servers dialog box. Here you can enable or bypass transaction signature key authentication. So it's not mandatory, it's optional. So if you enable it, you can use a template to quickly select a template and from the list here, and you can enable the TSIG key authentication, or if you do not want a template to be deployed, you can create a TSIG key on your own, generate the key, and you can deploy the TSIG key. And for the IP group that follows, you can select the server IP groups of your choice from the list or drop down list for IP group that features the list of server IP groups created under the organization, or key in any specific IP address of the secondary servers directly into the server IP text box and click add after each entry. So what are these server IP groups that we are talking about? So server IP groups can be accessed by accessing the config menu and then select the zone transfer sub menu, and then you'll have to navigate to the server IP groups tab. So these server IP groups is a quick curated list of designated server IPs deployed only for the ease of selection of a unique collection of multiple server IPs. So this group simplifies zone transfer configurations by helping you add or update a long list of primary or secondary server IPs. So updating IPs in a server IP group will not be reflected in the primary or secondary domain configuration here where the particular group was used. You'll have to update it manually when you make changes for the list of the secondary server list by adding the IPs one by one. Any changes to the server IP group will not be reflected over here. Make sure you enter them one by one over here, and you can save the configurations. So we've chosen a sample server group called a sample server IP group. So you can just select it and you can give save. Yeah, you can see that the list of IP addresses which are a part of this server IP group will be listed over here, and you can click save. So that's how you add secondary server lists for a primary zone. So you can see the list of the secondary servers updated over here. Also in the secondary section, you can see an edit button at the right end. Here you can click on it and edit the secondary server list over here and update the list, and click on save to save the configurations. And you can see that CloudDNS displays the list of system bind servers on the top, defining the network through which the primaries in CloudDNS carry out the zone transfer transactions with the secondary name servers hosted by other DNS providers. The secondary servers receive responses and zone data transfers only from the networks that the primary zone is published on. So after completing the configurations in the primary zone, configure your secondary servers to utilize CloudDNS name servers as the primary server. So this is how you easily set up configuring ManageEngine CloudDNS as the primary DNS provider. Now let's see how to configure ManageEngine CloudDNS as a secondary DNS provider. So configuring CloudDNS as a secondary DNS provider makes it responsible for initiating zone transfers by frequently polling primary servers for updates. CloudDNS enables you to create one or more secondary zones for the primary zone hosted with a different provider. The secondary zone keeps frequently polling with the SOA queries or start of authority queries to the servers hosting primary zones. These frequent polling intervals are based on the SOA refresh TTL value configured in the SOA record. The SOA record possesses a serial number that is incrementally increased with each change made to the zone file. At the time of polling, if the secondary zone detects a larger SOA serial number on the primary server than the one it already possesses, it initiates authoritative zone transfer with an AXFR query requesting the new zone data. During the AXFR zone transfer, the secondary zone receives a read-only copy of the primary zone hosted on a different DNS provider, which restricts you from adding or editing the DNS records or responses of a secondary zone within the CloudDNS platform. So create or select a secondary zone of your choice, secondary domain of your choice. So we'll choose this particular domain. We'll get into it by clicking on this domain name. So when you get into this domain name, click on the zone transfer button in the top right corner. This will open up the zone transfer page. The zone transfer page displays the primary servers button, requesting you to add the primary servers hosting the primary zones to which the current zone acts as the secondary zone. Clicking on the primary servers button displays the Add Primary Servers dialog box. In this dialog box, you can enable or bypass the TSIG authentication. So just click on yes or select yes or no, and you can use a TSIG key template if you would like, if you enable TSIG key authentication. So let's see how you can create a TSIG key template. All you have to do is select the config menu and select the zone transfer submenu and navigate to the TSIG key template. So here you'll have to click on the add template button in the top right corner. Just give your key a name and select the algorithm of your choice, and based on this the key will be generated. So just click on the generate key button. The key will be automatically generated and you can save the configurations. So you can give a different name over here. So that's how a TSIG key template will be created. All you have to do is select this particular TSIG key name while applying TSIG key authentication over in the secondary zone transfers. Now back in the add primary servers dialog box, we'll just select the template we just created. So we'll search for the template we just created, which is sample test R. We'll select it, and for the IP groups, let's select a relevant server IP group. We'll choose this server IP group, and you can see the primary server list is updated over here. You can also update other additional IPs of the primary servers by entering the relevant IPs and clicking add after each entry. The first server in the list is given the highest priority and the last server in the list is given the least priority. So you can save the configuration. So once the configuration is saved, you can see the list of primary servers over here. You can always go and edit it if you'd like. You can view the TSIG key in bind format. You can also copy the key value, and you can see the CloudDNS displays the list of system bind servers on the top, defining the network through which the secondary name servers in CloudDNS carry out the zone transfer transactions with the primaries hosted with other DNS providers. And that's how you can easily set up CloudDNS as a secondary DNS provider. And this marks the end of our demo. Thank you for watching this walkthrough of CloudDNS. For more details or to request a demo, visit our website. Take control of your domains today and manage your DNS infrastructure with the precision and protection that ManageEngine CloudDNS offers. Thank you.